I'm going to do a review of the anatomical terminology that we covered in class today in hopes that this will ease your stress that you may have for the quiz tomorrow. So we're first going to start with regional terms, and we're going to look at the anterior side of the body and identify the major terms that I would like you to know. So we're going to first start with the head, okay? The entire head area is called the cephalic region. And that's anterior, posterior, the entire head region is called cephalic. Let's go on to the next. Let me get this out of the way here. Okay, this part right here, that is the frontal. I can remember that because I think of my forehead. The eyes, orbital. Remember I said your eyes are the orbits to your soul. The nose, nasal. The mouth, oral. The cheek on the side here, which is not labeled in this one, but that is buccal. I think when you blow a bugle, your cheeks look funny. And then your chin down here, that is mental. Remember I said if somebody goes quote unquote mental and flips out, they may bump their chin. And then the neck region right here is the cervical region, and that's no cervical, there we go. And that doesn't matter if you are on the anterior or front or posterior side of the body. Next we're going to move on to the chest and arm region, okay? So right here along the center, right here, that is the sternal region. And in some cases this is called the pectoral region. On the side here, this is hard because in some diagrams they might want you to call this the deltoid, but it's very similar to the acromial. The deltoid is the muscle that sits there. The acromion process is actually a connection between the clavicle, which is right here, the scapula, which is in the back, and the humerus as it comes up here. Some other things. We have the armpit in here, which is the axillary or axillary. Go to the arm here. This is the brachial. And in medical terms, this is the arm, this is the forearm. Okay? The front of the elbow right here is called the antecubital. You remember how I taught you how to remember that one? Where would you take a tube of blood? Tube rhymes with cube. Antecubital is right there. The forearm. This is the antebrachial. The wrist. Carpal. Get carpal tunnel syndrome. I'm getting it right now from writing this. And the fingers are the digits or the digital region. Let's look at the abdominal area. Right here in the center is the umbilical area. This is the pelvic. This is the genital. Down here, right here, well here's genital, and down here we're looking at the inguinal area, the groin. Moving down to the hips and legs, here we have the coxal region. This is the femoral, The femur is right there. Might be easy to remember. The front part of the knee is where the patella bone is. It's the patellar. The front of the leg is the crural. The side out here, this lateral side, is the fibular, which is right near the fibular bone. Right here, we're dealing with tarsals. Remember I told you the tar heels, okay? The foot, they'll be looking at kind of the pedal area, but right here is the digits, or digital, which is the toes. Next, we're going to move on to the posterior side of the body and look at those regions. The back of the head is the, nope, not cephalic. My fault. It is the occipital. Cervical, we already talked about. Here you could get into either acromial or deltoid. They're saying right here, acromial. The back of the arm, again, is still brachial. Right here, the back of the elbow is olecranal. Right here, olecranal. Remember I told you how to remember that one? When you hit the back of your arm, which is not your weenus, okay, you might say ouch or oh because it hurts. Over here, it's your scapular region on your shoulder blade or your scapula. Right here, we're dealing with the vertebral region, where your vertebrae are. This middle part of your back is the lumbar region. Those are your lumbar vertebrae. Right here is your sacral region, which coincides with your sacrum, which is part of your spine underneath. The butt, gluteal, think of gluteus maximus. People can usually remember that one. This is still femoral. The back of your knee is popliteal, or popliteal. The back of the leg is sural. The back of your heel, I don't have enough room to write, I'll just draw an arrow to it, is calcaneal, right here. And then the bottom of your foot, where did I tell you get plantar warts? So this one down here is plantar. Plantar warts or plantar fasciitis. So those are the posterior regional terms. Directional terms. Here's my wonderful drawing. I'll give this person some hair. Okay? So some directional terms we need to know. The front side of the body is called the anterior versus the back is called the posterior. We learned some other terms for that. Ventral and dorsal. I think of the ventricles are in the heart, they're on the front side, and a dorsal fin on a dolphin would go on the back. Next, if we were to cut the body in half, how cryptic does that sound? Let's see. We would have the top or above would be superior, and below would be inferior. If we drew a straight line down the middle of the body here, okay, this would be the midline. This would be more medial. If we moved away from that midline, we would be going lateral. So this hand is lateral to the midline, or where the heart would be. We have some terms involving your extremities. We have proximal, which is closer to the point of attachment, which would be the trunk, and distal, which is at a greater distance, and intermediate would be anything in between. And then the last two are deep and superficial. Superficial means more towards the outside, so that your skin is superficial to your bones versus your organs are deep to your skin. The cavities of the body. So if we look at the front of the person, they have, this is the front face. It's very nice. Ventral body cavities are on the front, and if we turn this person around, there are dorsal body cavities in the back, including the cranial cavity and vertebral cavity. In the front, we have the thoracic cavity, which is here. In the chest, we have the abdominal cavity and the pelvic cavity, which we put together to say the abdominal pelvic cavity. The abdominal pelvic cavity can be broken down into 4 regions, which would be the upper left quadrant, upper right quadrant, bottom left, or lower left, lower left, and lower right. We could actually switch them around because we're looking at a patient. We could then break this abdominal pelvic cavity down into 9 different areas, your tic-tac-toe board. So in the center, I told you, you would have a umbilical region. Above that would be the epigastric. Epi means on top of. Below would be the hypogastric. Up here would be the right hypochondriac area. Hypochondriac region. And over here would be the left. Again, we're looking at a patient laying down, so this would be their right side. It's not the way you're looking at the paper. That's the patient is laying down. In the middle here, this would be the right lumbar region. And this would be the left lumbar region. Over here would be the right iliac region, which is associated that was horrible. Let me try that again. Iliac region, which goes inside with your iliac crest, which is the bone on your hip. And over here would be the left iliac region. And finally, we have body planes, the way we're going to dissect or cut body parts. The first one I want you to know is that if we were to make a slice down the dead center of somebody to split them into right and left equal halves, that would be called a mid-sagittal cut. If you didn't do it totally equal, it would just be a sagittal cut. Another one would be if I were to cut this person from one ear to the other, straight across. Sorry, that was an email. So we would be cutting them into front and back. That would be called a frontal cut. And another word for that is coronal. And then finally, if we made a cut like this, we would be making somebody into superior and inferior pieces, and that is called a transverse cut. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. All right?